Latinos, Africans, and anyone who is foreign, keep y'all head up, okay? That's why I make these videos, to uplift us, okay? While they rejoicing in deportation efforts and all of that, they're facing the highest eviction rates that they've ever faced. The only way that they can have a fair chance is to hope that we get deported, because we came to this country, we did what needed to be done, and we made the best out of the efforts and the benefits that they ignored. They were born here and they weren't ahead of us. We came here and we passed them. And instead of them taking accountability, black and white, they always want to log in and show us. Baby, it's so damn hot outside. They're facing evictions left and right. This country is throwing its poor blacks and whites out on their, if they can't pay their rent. They're not paid livable, decent wages. So that's other shit that they could be focusing on, fighting for better wages, fighting this eviction crisis. Instead, they focus and laugh on us. I guess it gives them a break from their sucky life. At the end of the day, we're fine. You are the ones that need the prayers. You need the help. Just consider me as black coffee with no cream and no sugar. Strong and black. When you sip it, god damn, that's strong. I can't handle this if you're not used to it. It's an acquired taste. Calling out your disrespect don't make me racist. It doesn't make me bigoted. It means that I'm not tolerating no from no American, black or white or anything in between that. Why would I limit myself to focusing on only the black American community? I make videos about white America too, and anybody else that disrespects us. I'm going to keep my foot up that to this country every time I log in until you realize none of us standing on stolen land are illegal. None of you have the right to be here if you're not indigenous. So you don't get to dictate who has to get the fuck out of here versus who can stay. All the white immigrants in this country live here freely, and a lot of them don't have their papers or direct citizenship, correct citizenship. Do you see ICE going to raid their workplaces? Do you see them dragging them out of their houses? No, it's only us of color. So when you fix that, then maybe I'll talk about something else.
And I would say, like somebody mentioned in the comments, is that even Kenyans themselves, ethnic black Kenyans, just before I came to the US, one of my esteemed, somebody I looked up to, one of my professors, he pulled me aside. He was like, I know you're going to the United States to study, but you should be wary of African Americans. You don't hang out with them. This is somebody has come to the US many times, has come for conferences, he's done, teaching fellowships here. Pulled me aside and said, you know what? They would teach you how to sell drugs. And I was shocked, because this is somebody I looked up to. This is somebody who had encouraged me to apply to come to study here, because he had also done his PhD here. So that is something that really, it's not even the Somalis themselves. It's like even ethnic Kenyans contribute to this whole idea that coming to this country, you're the model ethnic minority. You work hard. You will beat the African Americans. They can't take advantage of just living in America. You know what it means to come and study here, to take advantages of, all the opportunities that are available. But this is something that gets into your head, because when you come here, then you realize the systemic and institutional racism in this country. I used to think when I was in Kenya that African Americans don't like to vote. I didn't know there's voter suppression. I didn't know there's gerrymandering in America, So these are the things that, when you live in Africa or you live in Kenya, you don't get to experience some of these things. You just imagine that, or you perpetuate this anti-blackness, even from the ethnic Kenyans, ethnic Somalis, is that African American people are lazy, they don't work hard, and all of this. This is something that shows you that we need to really decolonize our minds,
I'm really not even going to spend too much time directly on this individual. Obviously, we know that she is an immigrant. There were a whole bunch of expletives and stuff that she was actually saying. It took me a little bit of time to actually edit those things directly out. And she wanted to specifically, again, like most others, go out on a limb, go out on social media, and specifically bring up and talk about Black Americans. But she wanted to say that, she's unbiased or whatnot, whatever, because she'll also try to bring up white Americans in there as well. But again, I'm just going to point out, people like her would never raise up like Black Americans and specifically have an argument or have a rah 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 type of moment with the government or with white Americans. They're not going to do that because there's going to be an article that I'm going to read directly from, a little snippet that's going to state that I'm not sure if she's Caribbean or not, but they considered Caribbeans to be docile. And those are the ones that they hired and wanted to import directly over in order to replace Black Americans who were, making, I guess, their fair wage during that point in time. So the rest of the duration of this video will be me going over information directly from clips that I will showcase directly in front of you, and also reading directly from a paragraph or two from a book that I have as well, detailing how immigration negatively impacts Black Americans. All right, so this is what we got so far. Empirical evidence suggests that as a group, Blacks bear the brunt of mass immigration relative to white Americans, particularly for the urban and unskilled Black service and manufacturing jobs that previously hired Blacks have all but disappeared. Next, another part, they said, and dwindling jobs that pay livable wages have disproportionately impacted African Americans more than any other racial and ethnic group in the United States. As they continue to suffer and lose economic ground due to uncontrolled immigration, Black Americans' stance on the issue of immigration has hardened. As a group, Black Americans favor decreased immigration into the country. Slightly more than one half, 52%, of Blacks are in favor of curbing the pace of immigration and immigrant emissions. Yes, Black immigrant children in the United States experience higher child poverty rates compared to both United States-born Black children and children of other immigrant groups. This disparity persists even when considering factors like parental education and occupation. Black immigrants in the United States face higher poverty rates and are more likely to be among the working poor compared to both Black United States natives and other immigrant groups. This means a significant portion of Black immigrants are employed but still struggle to meet basic needs due to low wages and limited access to public benefits. Immigrants versus Black United States natives. While both groups experience higher poverty rates than white United States natives, Black immigrants are disproportionately represented among the working poor. Black immigrants versus other immigrant groups. Black immigrants often fare worse financially than other immigrant groups, particularly in terms of income and homeownership. The employment rates of Black men, and particularly of low-skilled Black men, fell precipitously from 1960 to 2000. At the same time, the incarceration rate of Black men rose markedly. The paper examines the relations between immigration and these trends in Black employment and incarceration. Using data drawn from the 1960s through the 2000s United States Census, we find a strong correlation between immigration, Black wages, Black employment rates, and Black incarceration rates. As immigrants disproportionately increased the supply of workers in a particular skill group, the wage of Black workers in that group fell. The employment rate declined and the incarceration rate rose. Analysis suggests that a 10% immigrant introduced increase in the supply of a particular skill group reduced the Black wage by 2.5%, lowered the employment rate of Black men by 5.9% points, and increased the incarceration rate of Blacks by 1.3% points. At a November hearing, a parade of witnesses from these organizations vehemently protested the suspension of the 95-cent wage, charging that Florida's wage of about 70 cents an hour forced American Negro farm laborers to move northward in search of better jobs, while the growers, claiming a shortage of domestic farm workers in Florida, went ahead and imported docile Caribbean laborers willing to work for a lower pay scale. Politics was also charged then. The labor movement claimed Smathers had pressured the late President Kennedy to suspend the wage order. A Jesuit priest of Reverend James L. Vizard charged November 19th that the Kennedy decision was taking pennies from the poor and called it the shoddiest kind of political deal. The Cuban influx into the dress goods industry is graphically described by union business manager Robert Gladnick. Quote, the entire garment industry of Miami employs 6,300. The non-union shops are staffed 98% by Cubans. Since the industry expanded, between 1,000 and 1,500 new jobs were created, and they all went to Cubans. The arrival of the Cubans definitely stopped the progress of the Negro in the industry. The Negroes were about to make a breakthrough as sewers when the Cubans came in. We feel the problem of the Cuban refugees with great compassion, but the employer is the real Chesler. The employer wants cheap labor. The Cubans will work for less than the Negro will. The Negro therefore becomes the victim. Adds J. Arthur Lazelle, deputy director of the Cuban Refugee Center, quote, the Negro has been a victim of job displacement. The Cuban has been a scapegoat, and the employer engaging in bad labor practices is the guilty one. The chief effects on the Negro community caused by the refugee invasion are, number one, widespread loss, formerly Negro jobs. Number two, loss of some homes by Negroes, though this number has not been large. Number three, evictions from homes and apartments of Negro tenants, a very high figure. Number four, a sharp increase in crime among Miami Negroes. And number five, a marked increase in gambling by Negroes. And number six, a noticeable reduction and receipts of Negro-owned businesses. So I'm going to read you guys I guess you consider this like an excerpt, paragraph, whatever, from An American History Cuba, right? So they said, not everyone welcomed Cubans to Miami. Anglo-Miamians wrote letters to editors complaining about their new neighbors. Apartment buildings began posting signs that read, no children, no pets, no Cubans. Merchants complained that Cubans only want to do business with other Cubans. Quote, it's unbelievable how the Cubans would push out the Americans so quickly, one remarked. That phenomenon was not only limited to business. The garment sector, as we covered earlier, labor forces went from 94% to just 18% non-Hispanic white in less than 10 years. The difference due to almost entirely a newly arrived Cubans. Perhaps no one felt as pushed out by the Cuban arrivals as the Black Miamians. Little Havana sat across the Miami River from Overtown, the city's historic Black neighborhood since the 1890s. Miami belonged to Jim Crow South, and African Americans watched Cubans put themselves there. They noted all kinds of contradictions. At the time and place in which racial segregation was rampant, they only observed how almost all Cubans, often no matter their skin color, became white. Sometimes it happened at the very moment of arrival. When they registered at a refugee center downtown, people received hotel vouchers if they needed them. Almost all but the very darkest refugees received vouchers for white hotels. Miami beaches were just as segregated. Some were restricted to whites, others to blacks, but Cubans may use either beach. And that was reported by Look magazine back in April of 1959. Cuban children, almost no matter their complexion, were allowed to go to white public schools, were invariably better resourced than their black counterparts. In 1961, a local black minister speculated that African Americans in Miami could solve the problem of school segregation simply by teaching their children to speak only Spanish. Such observations aside, black leaders consistently emphasized that their problem was not with the new arrivals themselves, but with the preferential treatment given to them by the government. As the head of Miami's Urban League insisted, quote, we're not angry at the Cubans, but the system that will do more for outsiders than for its own citizens. Access to those benefits allowed Cubans to work for lower wages than others, sometimes for a little as half of the wage garnered by their black counterparts. One reported estimate that between 1959 and 1962, 12,000 African Americans lost jobs to Cubans. Sometimes it was the United States government itself that gave the Cubans employment. In the early 1960s, the CIA had 12,000 Cubans on its payroll, making it one of the largest employers in the state of Florida. In fact, the CIA's largest station in the world outside of headquarters in Langley, Virginia, was located in Miami. The agency also controlled more than 50 front businesses, a large number of them in Little Havana. These were CIA's own Cuban exile-run travel agencies, gun shops, real estate offices, and the like. Such ventures, quote, helped exiles hone their entrepreneurial skills and boosted them economically, though they did nothing to topple Castro. It was assistance from the United States government, not only cultural capital or up by the bootstraps determination that made the early exiles golden. So at the end of the day, the main reason to bring up all of this information is to showcase the fact that irregardless on the quote unquote black face voices out there that want to be pro-immigration and all of these other types of things, the fact of the matter is that immigration has always had a detrimental effect on Black Americans. This information is before a lot of us were even born. This is back during the Castro days. So, you know, the 60s and the 50s and so on, back when you had the first and the second wave of the Cubans that came directly over there fleeing Cuba because of Castro. And again, going back to that book, they also stated that you had Cubans there that were fleeing, and in order to get some type of reassurance or some type of safety, they would also state that they are homosexual in order to flee, right? Because they're trying to say that, oh, you know, I'm being persecuted because of, you know, my belief, sexuality, all this other type of stuff. And these, again, are some of the same people that came directly over to Florida, and they were undercutting the valuable Black American workers who fought, who struggled, who pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, who did everything possible, who played by the rules in order to get a fair wage, in order to get the money that they should be making at that moment in time. All to just have some immigrants come directly over and undercut all of their hard work, all of their effort, all of their due diligence, just for what? Less than 25 or whatever amount of cents. And because they did that, the American government, as which they have always done, will go right back and they will support these immigrants. And it was also stated in the book that the CIA, so again, this is not just Black people just complaining just to complain. The United States government, the CIA, literally backed Cubans. So again, what people want to understand and want to figure out, why is it that Black Americans feel a certain type of way about immigrants? This is why. Because no matter how much Black Americans play by the rules, we always get cheated. We always get swindled somehow, some way. We can know the rules back and forth. We can memorize the books. We can memorize everything that is on a card. We can follow every single thing that white people will basically dictate. Like, yo, you follow all these government rules, you'll be completely A-okay, Black people. And even then, it's still not enough. That somehow, some way, the goalpost gets moved. Somehow, some way, there was another rule book written. There were some pages that were magically missing that we didn't know anything about, because they carefully, right, snatched those pages directly out, cut those pages directly out deliberately, only to say that, well, Black people, you got to sit up there and do better. You got to try harder. You got to pull yourself up by your boot. It is impossible to play a game where everybody is consistently cheating. It is impossible to play a game at a fair rate. It's impossible. It is 100% impossible. And people wonder why it is that Black Americans are always complaining. That's because we've always been cheated. Show me at what point in time have Black Americans had the United States government back them in making sure that they were profitable. I'll wait. Because like I said, the CIA, they had 50 Cuban storefronts. And these people were sitting up there doing everything from garments to selling guns and everything else. Just imagine if the United States government did that for Black Americans. This would be completely different. we would be looking at a whole different America at this moment in time, especially with how it is that people would decide to treat, look at, and speak to Black Americans. But again, for those that know, we know that that would never happen. They're not going to do that, because the moment in time that they empower Black Americans, then everybody else also becomes empowered, and they're not going to do it. So they're going to rather sacrifice everything just so that one can't sit up there and make it. Or better yet, going back to the Cubans, they will sacrifice everything and give it to somebody else because they know that they are docile. What did they say back in that paper clip that I gave you guys? They said that they pretty much got rid of the black Americans that were out there farming because the Negroes during that time were not getting their fair share, right? So they pretty much got them out. And then they decided to get the docile Caribbeans. Again, these are not my words. These are the words directly in those editorials, in those newspapers during the time. So again, this is why black Americans have a problem with a variety of groups directly out here, because somehow, some way, all of these groups have come directly over here and undercutted us. They have undermined all of our hard work, all of our dedication, just to sit up there and benefit themselves, just to benefit their group. And now we're sitting in 2025 where a lot of these people, what was the Jamaican guy I gave y'all the video of, when he was like, yeah, for us Jamaican or Caribbean Haitians and all this, we need to sit up there and just buy from ourselves, build up our own businesses, do this and do that and la 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 la. Word? I'm like, that's what people already been doing in America. The only difference is that y'all can actually be profitable doing this. It's not going to be a problem. Right, you got, little Jamaica, little Caribbean, or little Africa. But y'all got all of these little places where y'all go that y'all specifically made your own, and it's completely fine. Ain't nobody bothering y'all. But the moment in time that black people happen to do it, it's a problem. And if we are doing it and we're doing it greatly, now everybody else wants to try to get a piece directly of that, and they want to try to carve out their spot. Any which way, we always get slighted. And people want to try to figure out why is that black people have a problem with everybody else. That's because y'all caused it. Irregardless of y'all know it or not, y'all caused it deliberately. Because anytime y'all show up, we already know what's going to happen. The black Americans who have done their due diligence and who have labored and worked and gotten the education that they needed to sit up there and get, it's not going to be enough, because you guys are going to come through and be like, oh, well, this black American, he has a degree. He said he's going to, he wants to do this for 80K. 80K a year? That's a little bit a lot. What if I will take the same position with the same education and I'll take it for 50? That's the type of stuff that y'all do. That's the type of stuff that y'all would do. And y'all wonder why we have a problem. And then not only that, y'all will get into those positions, and then y'all will sit idly by, work your way up through the ranks, and then you'll make sure that once you get to that spot, you're looking down at the bottom and be like, you know what? I don't like the fact that there's other black people down here. We're going to get rid of them for whatever reasons, and I gave y'all a story on that. And I'm going to make sure to sit up there and put some other Hispanics, some Cubans, Latins, whatnot. I'm going to make sure some people, of my, ethnicity, heritage, or grouping are going to be down. And we're going to get these blacks out of here. And that's what y'all doing. Y'all wonder why it is that we got a problem. Y'all wonder why it is that we are standing back and stepping down when it deals with the protest, when it deals with immigration, and when it deals with ICE. And then you got the nerve to have some talking heads directly up here trying to tell black Americans that two wrongs don't make a right. Well, as somebody stated in my comment section, I guess it makes us even, doesn't it? I guess it makes us even, but we're not all the way through, because again, we clearly stated that we're stepping back for these 4 years because everybody showed their true colors, and you guys are still continuously showing your true colors at this moment in time. So again, for anybody who want to come through in my comment section, a lot of times they don't happen to make it this far in this video, which is going to show how, the lack of education, because I'm going to be looking at some of those comments. Again, all of this stuff is factual. You can go look it up directly for yourself. You can look at the negative impacts that the immigration has had on black Americans historically, and you can figure it directly out for yourself. Because again, I know how some people want to sit up there, oh, you guys are just xenophobic, this, that, and the third. No, this has nothing to do with being xenophobic. Stop trying to brand black people as something that they're not. We're the most welcoming and we're the most loving people directly out here. But for whatever reason, you guys have decided that y'all want us to take it for granted. You don't want to pay attention. You don't want to admit any type of fault in anything, because y'all think like other people out here that y'all just came over here and y'all just innocent. Y'all the same as everybody. No, you're not. Because in a lot of these instances, and even still to this day, the United States government has backed immigrants before it will back its own people. And that has even been shown directly in this timeline, 2024. 2025, 2023, when vast amount of immigrants were coming directly over here and people are receiving $5,000 and $10,000 and $15,000. Even still today, you got people sitting up there getting housing vouchers, hotel vouchers, living it up directly in New York and all these great hotels. But I would have to spend my hard-earned money to sit up there and do it. And then y'all want to turn around some of the African immigrants. Y'all got mad at the food that y'all were getting served and said that it's not good enough and y'all can't eat it. How ungrateful do you have to sit up there and be to get something for free and then turn around and complain and spit in the face of the people who are being generous enough to help your scavenging ass directly out since you want to run from your country? Just imagine that. And those were Africans sitting directly in a city council meeting complaining about the food that they were getting, saying that it wasn't good enough. Well, go back home. And that goes to everybody that has a complaint about the stuff that's going on in America. Go back home and complain about your home. And to one of the guys that was talking about he's Jamaican in the comment section and Jamaicans are so great and all this other type of stuff. If you're so great, why couldn't you bear your greatness over in your country? Why couldn't you be great over in Jamaica? Why couldn't you build your businesses and do this, that, and the third in Jamaica? Why did you have to leave and run and flee and take a boat or a plane trip from Jamaica to the United States in order to realize how great you were? Answer me that. And again, the only reason that if you are a Jamaican and you came directly over there, the only reason you're being disrespectful to Black Americans, I just want to specify that you're being fully 100% disrespectful to Black Americans. The only reason that you are here is because we made it comfortable for you to be here. Like I said, a lot of y'all are just ungrateful and you don't even realize it. But you know, the United States government will put you in order, because that's the only way that you actually realize something is when white people tell you something. So have at it. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this video and everything that I state in the comment description below. And as always, peace, love, and stay tuned for the next video.